Okay, Free Radicals, welcome back. I'm Dave. This is the Radical Independent. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And for a couple of you, especially my good friend Christine, thank you for the contribution to the channel. It's the first one I've received in several weeks, and I appreciate that, especially in the midst of a global lockdown. Revenue streams on YouTube are really depleted right now. So unless you're a content creator with, videos that are going over 1 million or something like that, you've probably seen a very large reduction in your pay. I want to talk about the complete implosion of the Democratic Party and the progressive movement, for that matter. Now, you'll think to yourself, well, wait a minute, Dave. Democratic Party's fine. They've all coalesced. Their fearless and behind-the-scenes leader, Barack Obama, has come forward and has endorsed Joe Biden for president. And it took a long time. People were curious about the timing. I heard the folks over at Rising talking about that. I don't think the timing matters. In fact, I think this was all planned. They had to really squash the Bernie threat. They did. Tulsi Gabbard obviously was a problem from day one, and they made sure her campaign went nowhere. But it's hard for me to forgive either Tulsi or Bernie for the kind of capitulation they've done. And you could talk about how they signed a pledge, but it's also how the way that they went out. Disturbing. And now, I have to say this, Tulsi went out and it was bad. Bernie went out and it's been catastrophic. All of these people are just got to be holding their hands up into the air going, what was I supporting? What was I doing? This was all for nothing. The progressive movement, this is what has happened. Progressive candidates go out there and run on issues working class Americans really care about. They try, some of them at least try to stay away from identity politics and wedge issues and things that we can agree to disagree on and are not life or death necessarily. Some of them may be, but I won't get into detail there. I'm just saying what we need to do, though, is focus on issues we can agree on. I have a libertarian dude who is on Twitter, and he irritates me, but there are things that he and I can agree on. And I think at the end of the day, that's really important. And even though I don't agree with his economic solutions to poverty and all the things that are happening around the country, homelessness, yeah, the Federal Reserve is definitely part of the problem, and we need to get rid of it. However, we need to change the way we tax large corporations and even just wealthy individuals. We need a real tax system and tax policy that helps the poor, the working poor, the middle class who are evaporating before our eyes. The progressive movement is about those things. But for some reason, what has happened, and it happened in 2016, and it happened even worse this time around, and you had all these congressional candidates that are still running, either trying to win primaries or just opposing a Republican somewhere, and it's as if, your head honcho just quit the corporation. That would be Bernie Sanders. I'm off the reservation. I'm not playing the progressive game anymore. It was fun while it lasted, but I'm done. And now I'm going to do everything I can to defeat Donald Trump, the most dangerous president in the history of the world. I've said it over and over again. And a lot of Americans don't believe that. But there are people on the neoliberal side of things that think this is what you need to keep saying. Because now I want to vote for you, because I hate Trump too. And I hate him so much that I want him out yesterday. And he's really doing a horrible job handling this lockdown situation, and he needs to go as quickly as possible. Folks, we've lost our minds, because rather than try to cooperate in a crisis, we politicize every aspect of the crisis, where gridlock becomes an actual problem in the midst of this, where we can't just move ideas because somehow Trump might get credit for something. If it saves lives, I don't care if Trump gets credit for something. I want to save lives. I want to do the right thing. So the progressives, though, have been all sheep-herded, both the voters and the candidates. They've all been sheep-herded into the neoliberal tent, and now they're being told, this is how you line up. This is how you follow us. This is what we all do at this point. We all coalesce. It's April 15th. It's tax day. Well, technically it's not tax day because they pushed it out, 90 days? I bet you they're going to push it out even more. The point is that we are in a situation, the first time I can remember, really, where you had all of this excitement and momentum, and it got turned off. It's like a spigot that just got turned off, switch, whatever analogy. And now there's just nowhere for anybody to go who believed in these things. You can't vote for Biden. Joe Rogan had it right. You can't vote for Biden. You can't vote for Trump, although Trump does something that very few progressives do. He fights for crap. It's crap you might not believe in, and he does so sometimes in a way that you just want to pull the rest of your hair out, and you're like, shut up, dude. I get it. You think you're great. Shut up. But there's a certain, I guess, pretentiousness to that, a certain bombast to it, and it's refreshing because everybody else on the left are wimps. The accusation that you've got, big snowflakes who are trying to lead smaller snowflakes into an inferno, because that's what is happening every single time. And if you're going to be a progressive candidate, if you're going to run for something, independent, progressive type person, you need to have a backbone. And you need to just turn the dial with the identity politics dial. You need to turn that to 0. Time is over for that stuff. Russiagate needs to be turned to 0. I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore with people who think that these issues are paramount when you got people who are in various places around our country because either where they live or the color of their skin, and they're dying in larger numbers because our government, is failing them. And systemically failed them prior to the lockdown situation we find ourselves in now. The progressive movement is over within the Democratic Party. So you've got to choose. You've got to figure out what you want to do. I have decided to go green. I have decided to look into the Green Party. There are 2 really good candidates running. I like Dario Hunter more than any of the other candidates. There's also Howie Hawkins. I'm planning on, at some point, interviewing Howie and asking probably some tough questions about what people complain about regarding his campaign. I want to know if he's a serious contender and he really wants to take this all the way to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, because if he doesn't, again, it's a useless exercise other than building a movement, which I would still try to build a movement, but I want to hear somebody's enthusiasm for just the possibility, the little hope that working class voters might actually find themselves with a candidate who could win the White House and who has their best interests at heart. It's not too much to ask for. I don't know there are a lot of people that are turning to the Libertarian Party, and the only reason I mentioned the Libertarian Party is a lot of the Tulsi Gabbard fans that I had on this channel, they're closet libertarians or full-blown libertarians. I don't know how they could look at Tulsi, though, with the $15 an hour wages. If you looked at her platform, most of it was progressive or neo-progressive in nature. And that stuff, none of it lines up. Very little of it lines up with the Libertarian Party. Libertarians have come around to the idea of UBI, which is weird. Of course, you've got libertarian socialists in there who are a very interesting group of people. It's a very wide philosophy. It's a very thorough philosophy, and a lot of it makes really good sense. There are people in that group that are really afraid of authoritarianism, and we're starting to see that right now. I'm very fearful of that, and I guess that's a libertarian side, but it's also a green side because the Greens believe that too. It's just that the Greens don't make it a priority like the libertarians do. So I'm open-minded to libertarian candidates, but at the end of the day, the single black mother in some urban hellhole is not going to vote libertarian. She's not. And there are hundreds of thousands of people like that around the country who are in a hopeless place of despair. Some of it is their zip code. Some of it is who they are when they were born and so forth. And I tell you, it's so difficult to just, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, because that's the philosophy. And essentially that the free market will come to your rescue. We need to be good stewards, and we need to be servants of our fellow citizens. This isn't just about, I've got mine and I want to keep more of what's mine. And it's not about that. It's about having a more equitable, just, and fair world. That's all. It's not brain surgery. It's not like I'm not some whacked out left-winger. I'm actually very conservative on some issues, but I truly don't think a philosophy that rewards certain people more than other people because maybe they were smarter, or maybe they unlocked the code to success and the other person couldn't do it. And it's such a drastic disparity that it's no longer tenable for me. And that's why I've moved over to the Green Party. There's so much income inequality that it's just mind-blowing, and I don't think Joe Biden is going to pick up that torch from Bernie Sanders. I know there are people now in the Bernie camp are saying, well, what if we get Medicare for all from Biden? You're not going to get squat. They're going to lower the Medicare age to 60. Yeah, there's a victory for you, right? Something to look forward to when I hit 60, I guess. But here's the thing. There's no progressive movement within the Democratic Party. It's none. It doesn't exist. The events of the last few days with Obama endorsing Biden and Sanders going full in, all right, and then even Obama, who wasn't really buddy-buddy with Bernie Sanders, called him an American original and this and that, and just all of this gushing praise. These are neoliberal establishment folks all coming together. Bernie Sanders included. I hate to say it, Tulsi Gabbard included as well. Because Tulsi Gabbard, she said, hey, we go on missions that are good missions. Which ones? I mean, I still don't know which missions are the good ones and because you campaigned on all the bad ones, and then at the end of your campaign, you basically said, well, there are some things we do that are good, and we need to keep doing those things. I want the military budget slashed. I don't know if you can do what Dario Hunter wants to do or what Howie Hawkins wants to do, but I want to go big. If we're going to do that, bring that infrastructure back home, and you could create the world's greatest healthcare system, and that would protect citizens. The government is supposed to protect you from enemies, both foreign and domestic, and guess what they're doing? They're failing. They're not doing it. And you can blame Trump, you can blame whoever you want. I blame the entire system. I blame everything that happened before Trump that led up to this moment. Trump isn't to blame for a virus, okay? He isn't. Could he handle it better? Sure. Any president, any member of Congress or the Senate could handle their job better, and they could do a better job preparing their constituents for what occurred. But it doesn't fix the problem. And quite honestly, if we want a progressive government of any kind, independent, libertarian, whatever philosophy fits you, you have to go outside the two parties. You have to. I'm officially in the Green Party now. I never thought there would come a day that I would be in the Green Party. You're looking at a one-time Republican who went independent many, many years ago. And I stayed independent. I registered to be a Democrat in Florida so I could vote for Tulsi Gabbard in the primaries, which apparently was a really wasted vote. And I know everybody who voted for Bernie or Tulsi, you could feel that way. Some of you believe that oh no, this is going to change things. Biden will pivot. He's got dementia. He's got dementia. Maybe his VP will be Elizabeth Warren. People are saying that now. Okay. It's more bombs away. It's going to be the same neoliberal foreign policy, tinkering around the edges, Obamacare 2.0. It's not going to be Medicare for all. It's not going to be a $15 an hour wage. It's going to be small concessions. And those concessions are going to be made with Wall Street in the rear view mirror. You're going to be looking back, and there they are. There's Wall Street. And this is how Joe Biden works. It's how he's always worked. There's going to be no change at all. And even if Warren became the VP, I think Elizabeth Warren would also be greatly diminished as far as her so-called progressive credentials are concerned. So that's my video. The implosion of the progressive movement. Watch Jimmy Dore. He's completely out of his mind right now because everything has just shown itself for the fraud that it is. It's just, the more you look at it, the more you just scratch your head and you go, Bernie Sanders is a fraud? Tulsi Gabbard? I want to say fraud for Tulsi, but Tulsi is a real disappointment. Tulsi was a little different than the other candidates. She always held her cards really close to her vest. You know, her thing was, yeah, we need to bring money home so we have more money for health care. It wasn't, we have to have Medicare for all. It wasn't, we end all wars and bring the troops home. For the most part, we bring 90% of the troops home. Something, give a statistic, give us a number. Don't tell us there are good missions and bad missions. Right now, if you're going to the Middle East, it's a bad mission. Period. So she's wrong. It's the first time I've ever said that. Tulsi Gabbard is wrong. There are no good missions to the Middle East right now. So that's where I'm at. And Green Party USA, I think it's gp.org. Just Google Green Party. I always get website addresses messed up. Also, Dario Hunter for president. I will even still say Howie Hawkins. Every time somebody talks about Howie Hawkins, Russiagate pops up. We'll take care of the Russiagate thing with Howie. We'll get to the bottom of that. To me, that isn't a game ender because of the platform. You know, we can disagree as to what happened in the 2016 election at this point, but who the bleep cares? It's 2020. If Howie Hawkins is running for president and he's got a great platform, you need to listen to him. And he's done his repentance on Russiagate in a couple of different videos I've seen of him, and I will be hopefully interviewing him and asking him some hard questions about that and other topics. In the meantime, thank you for watching this channel. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and yes, I am still accepting one-time PayPal donations over at davidjspuria@gmx.com for PayPal donations. And I want to thank my good friend Christine, who is a big supporter of this channel, who gave a donation either yesterday or the day before, and it was the first donation I've received in quite some time, and it's been a rough month so far because of what's happening around the world, and you can imagine many YouTubers and other people are getting really hit hard. I think it's the ad revenue. It's also the number of people watching these videos. It couldn't have occurred at a worse time. I mean, if I had gone full steam ahead and said, yeah, I'm still going to support Tulsi even though she dropped out, and she supported and endorsed Biden, maybe, again, if I had kept going, people would have stayed with me. But I have a conscience, and this channel is about more than just one really good candidate who really disappointed me. So that's the video. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Eventually more content heading your way right here on The Radical Independent. See you soon.